let Cherry address the questions at the end, okay? So you've had the introduction, but I do come from that ITSM background, and Shane and I sort of kicked off Wellybam here, but then I got quite sick and had to drop out of that process. And the wonderful committee that you see here and a few others all made it happen, which was fantastic. And Cherry did the same in Vietnam, starting up Vietbam. You can see behind her there on her background. And so you've heard about our backgrounds. But we call ourselves Teal Unicorn, and if it's not already obvious, we're a couple. So, and that is relevant later on. So I've worked, as Andy said, for a long time, coming up through IT stuff and learning about IT service management and agility, and then moving into management through that aspect and understanding ways of working. And then I met Cherry 5 years ago, and we united our thinking because she comes from this heavy business and public policy background, and not a lot of IT, Cherry, to put it mildly. But that has flowed into us working with organizations in Vietnam to bring Cherry's international experience and my background in IT and then business agility together to open up a whole lot of Vietnamese clients for us. That Cherry has been doing some amazing work in. I don't speak a word of Vietnamese, so I can't take the credit for it. It's Cherry that's opening up all these organizations and doing amazing stuff at the CXO level, generally highest levels of the organization. So we did an article in the Emergence Journal. So I think a lot of people who come to these meetups may not realize everything that happens within the Business Agility Institute. And one of the things we're doing as a committee this year is to highlight more of what is available to you through the Business Agility Institute. And one of those things is the quarterly journal, which is an excellent publication that comes out every quarter with some really good articles in it, and other articles such as the one I wrote on Dr. Vu in this one. So you will get a copy of that article that I wrote from this meetup. So I'll leave it to you to read the article, and I'm not going to reproduce the whole thing today as we present. You can go look at that in your own time. So in the short time that we got, I thought I'd just highlight a few bits of information from that article to give you a flavor for what we've been doing, and then that'll give you an opportunity for questions. So think about the questions you want to ask, because we do want to have a discussion period after I just tell you a few things that are about what's happening, okay? So we list some results in that article that Cherry's had in Vietnam, and the results never cease to not astonish me, but like to just take my breath away. And it's very difficult to, we tell people about these results and it's like, oh yeah, but they're incredible. So a clothing company, we work with a number of different clothing companies, and one of them, their production went up 90% year over year during COVID, just from applying, working with Cherry, coached by Cherry, applying the ideas that she gave them, right? And so revenue up over 100% and profits tripled during COVID in a single year. Or another large organization, a lot of the benefit we gave them was in helping them get their processes, their administrative processes simplified, was one of the areas we helped them in. And cost and time of approvals of stuff was just, it was absolutely bureaucratic bound, and Cherry just helped them clean the whole thing out. Or fashions. So any of these will expand later. Just ask us about it and Cherry can tell you the story of any of them. But I'm just picking some highlights for you at the moment and going through quickly. A fashion sales company, October 2020 was 4.5 times higher than their previous top month. A lingerie manufacturer, with several of those we work with, productivity up 150% in 2 weeks by applying pretty much lean thinking, Cherry, the ideas of reorganizing their flows of work. And they just did a reorg of the factory and away they went. April 2020, the sales were double their usual April, all during a pandemic and lockdown. Real estate company, I'll talk a bit more about these guys in a minute, but 4 staff selling as much as 45 used to. So the overheads are way down, which means the profits and commissions skyrocket. So we'll talk a bit more about them in a minute. And then Cherry's working with banks. And so one bank director listed for the first 2 months of the year, applying these new ways of working and changing how they, particularly new ways of managing, changing how they manage the people. In the first 2 months, they got the same growth as the whole of the previous year. And 3 KPIs, which mean nothing to you and me, but internal bank KPIs. They hit 95% of plan in 2 months. Another one, they achieved 100% of plan in 2 months. And another one, they hit 80% of plan in 2 months, allowing their staff to go and focus on other less important KPIs and push them all up to 90% of plan. So, 2 months rather than a year, achieving the same productivity. So not only are there the hard numbers, but we're very people focused, as I'll talk about in a minute. And Cherry's very close to all these people and forms what are now lifelong friendships for some of them, and has an emotional relationship with these people. So there are the personal impacts we're seeing as well. And there's a lot of testimony from people of the impacts for them personally in terms of their own experience of work and how they're feeling about going to work. If I was going to sum all of that up, it's by Cherry coaching them to be nice, right? To discover their inner nice person at work. And the way the training is run is very emotional. It's not cold and analytical and serious business oriented experience. And it means that the managers are having quite a different relationship with their people, with their staff. And not just with their staff, but with their families. So very quickly, Cherry uses a lot of family illustrations, metaphors, or no, anecdotes to illustrate when she's talking. And so someone advised us you should do a agile family seminar just to share all these ideas about how they apply to family. And we did that, and it just took off and became huge. And Cherry's book on family is now a bestseller in Vietnam. What's the latest? Are we up to the 4th reprint, Cherry? Or
yep.
Yeah. And it's only been out for
6 months.
6 months. So that's a huge bestseller in Vietnam. It's called You Can't Throw Your Children Away, which apparently is funny in Vietnamese. So,
Thank you.
but anyway, there's this huge family crossover, and Cherry coaches people to apply these ideas as much with their family as with their colleagues, and people are transforming how they relate to their family. And Cherry specifically runs training on that now. to help people think about family with these same similar ideas of humanocracy, if you like. So that's really, all of that's really rewarding for us. And so we could talk about what Cherry actually does. And I call it our secret formula. And it's so secret that if you want to know, you can go and read about it here. Like all good secrets, it's on the internet, right? So, you know, we write all this down. There's a page with all this stuff about, and they're all things that those of you who are already immersed in business agility, these are all absolutely familiar, right? We're not inventing anything. We got everything. We stand on the shoulders of giants, right? We drew all of this from the knowledge that's out there, from the Business Agility Institute, from Hamill and Denning and Drucker and whoever else, you know, all these sources of knowledge, Lalou, you know, they're all ideas you're familiar with. And the tactics that we try with people, we could talk about, but it's just, I think, not terribly exciting, because you can read all that in the journal, and you can read all that on our website, and you know, there's this article there that we wrote about making work better, and so I think it's more important. The one bit I want to pick out of that article is that we go through a bunch of hypotheses around why Cherry might be so amazingly effective. And the first one that sort of springs to English-speaking minds is, oh, well, that's Vietnam. And so I said in the article that I don't find Vietnam any more alien to a New Zealander than the USA is, right? You know, it's a different culture, sure, but we have all these different cultures that we apply business agility in, and it's just one more different culture. It's not actually that different. And the people we work with are people who are aligned with our thinking. They're self-selecting. They come to Cherry. And so that would be true anywhere in the world. They are people already interested in doing things differently. So I don't think, and then there's a bunch of other hypotheses that we talk about in the article that you can look at, and I go through those ideas and say that I don't think they're the reason. Then another one is that Cherry's special. And since I am married to her, I might have a non-objective view of that, but I do. And she certainly has this diverse background of having studied and worked all around the world, and she's very respected and connected within Vietnam, has a high mana, as we would say in New Zealand. Very strong woman, very hard to
Don't mess up with Dr. Wu.
Don't mess with Dr. Wu. You know, it's wonderful to see her in a room full of chief executives, tell them to put their bloody phones down and listen, right? You know, this sounds a bit like a school mom occasionally. But and top consultants in Vietnam have spectacularly failed before us. So, you know, she is doing something different. You know, we like to say that the big four create a lot of our market for us, you know, that people have tried that and now they're sitting in the ruins of what, I won't name names, what organizations have done to them, and they're much more open to the idea of a smaller consultancy helping them. But others succeed at this stuff, right? And Teal around the world is happening right now, yesterday. Their annual conference, you know, there's the Business Agility Institute conference is in very soon. Anyone remember? A month or so. So you can go and listen to other people succeeding. So much as I love her, I sort of said, that's part of it, but that's not the reason. So the two hypotheses that I think stand up, one is that, oops, sorry, I forgot to change that build. the first, so ignore that bit on the right there for the moment. The first hypothesis is that you need to change how you manage in order to change how you work. And this is the heart of what Teal Unicorn think and do, right? So this is where we focus, that you need to change how you manage to unlock better ways of working. And then hypothesis 8 related to that is that conventional management sucks. And we talk about this a lot in our books that we've done. That that the modes of management in the 20th century are actually not, the conventional ones are not terribly good modes of management. And so related to that is that conventional management worked because we're surrounded by wealthy, successful organizations, but it's working less and less in a VUCA world. So here's Cherry, one of the last people through Singapore in March last year, as a good illustration of the fact that we now live in a VUCA world, right? So you got the rise of knowledge workers that you can't beat with sticks like you could. You got the social instability that we're seeing around us, the VUCA rates of change in the environment, and changing social expectations. The social values are changing. People expect to be treated differently at work. And so I like to say, what got you here won't get you there. You know, that sure it works. Sure, you know, all these corporations are big and successful, but they're all to various extents starting to find the limits of that in the 21st century. So, you know, we think the heart of it is that managers are the lock to new ways of working, and change of management behavior is the key to unlock these new ways. And that's our focus. There is another hypothesis I put at the end in the article that we work unconventionally. And this is not a sales pitch here, right? So we got all the work we need at the moment, I think. We've got plenty of work. We could always use a bit more, I suppose. But the way we work as consultants is invitational. We don't go in with the answers. I love that phrase. We're midwives to ideas within the organization. Cherry's very moralistic and encourages people to be their best selves. And we teach empowerment and undermine the command and control authority in organizations. I have a specific memory of a whole bunch of the young people at a big corporation who have all been overseas. They've all studied at universities around the world. They're now back working for the big corporation in Vietnam. And in their minds, I mean, this is a job for life. And I remember, and they all speak English. And so I remember saying to them, you realize you're mobile. You realize you don't have to stay here. You don't have to put up with shit. That with your backgrounds, you could go and work anywhere. And just, I could see for some of them, these lights coming on. Wow, it's true. You know, and that sort of thinking is actually quite subversive in some of these organizations. And Cherry's really good at calling it out. She'll tell people she's a truth teller. So, and then we bring our whole selves. So there's what you see is what you get, and we, you know, there's an emotional engagement with people. So it's eating your own dog food. I mean, these are the ideas that we're promoting that people should culturally work towards in their organizations, and they're the same principles that we apply when we're working. So I'll shut up in a minute and we'll do some more conversational stuff, but I wanted to just finish with my personal favorite, which is, as an example, is Vinduk Real Estate. So Hung is now a close friend, and in fact is working with Cherry now and helping her out with a client. But when we first met Hung, she had Vinduk Real Estate, and she had 40 plus people working there, but on quite low salaries and, you know, commissioned salespeople, but a lot of them weren't selling anything. And there was a lot of, you know, non-productive people, but she still had to have office space and uniforms and blah, 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 for all these people. And working with Cherry, she completely revised the operating model of the organization to remove all the management from the system and have self-organizing teams, self-forming, self-organizing, self-managing teams that were entirely fluid in structure, not all at once, but ended up with this model, and greatly increased the performance, but changed the commissioning model so that everybody got paid, not just the superstar whiz kid salespeople, which meant that some of the superstar whiz kid salespeople left because they wanted to be the glory boys, right, and have the big payola. But that was a good thing because they were actually not positive contributions to the overall culture of the organization. And so they've reduced the size of the organization over time to the point where she's got 4 or 5 people now. And one of the reasons the size reduced a lot was because some of them saw this new model of working, saw how effective it was, and said, oh, well, we're going to all just leave and start our own organization. And Cherry counseled Hung to not freak out, not panic, but to retain the relationship. And so now they have a collaborative co-creational network of real estate agencies who work together to share clients and share information. And it's as green on the Lalu scale as you can be. And so they all work together now. So officially she's got 4 or 5 staff, but she's still making as much money as she used to overall. And individually and making lots more because there's actually a much smaller number of people and a much smaller office and all those kind of things. So I think it's a wonderful example of the kind of the results that we get, and plus the fact she's a really nice lady. So therefore I like using this example too. Oh, and in the midst of all that, Hung had her first baby, and so part of scaling down the organization and helping to get all the stress off Hung and simplify her life and help her at a time when she didn't need to be managing 40 people and trying to deal with a business that was struggling to be profitable. And so at the personal level, again, there's that helping her get through a stage in her life that was pretty important.
I just want to add here that during the COVID time, Saigon was locked down for 6 months, and they literally have no incomes at all. I mean, no, it's not no revenues at all. But the people who was with her, they still get a lot of pay because they make a big sums of money, so they can still have a salary in a very high. I mean, compared to Vietnamese standard, like few thousand US dollars per month per person. So I mean, it's really impressive about the result that they get, even during the lockdown. And normally they just staff, you know, they don't have any money. Yeah.
And that's part of that loyalty to staff, and yeah. So it's a good example. So that's us. That's some of the results that we're getting, and the way, the ideological position we come from, I suppose, in doing that. But as I said, I haven't talked much about a lot of the details because A, they're in the article, and B, perhaps you want to just ask questions specifically to Cherry. You've got her here to talk about what you've seen. So you can come on camera and ask, or you could drop a question, or Cherry, perhaps you want to say more about some of the things that I've said. Do you want to expand on anything there or correct anything?
Yeah, yesterday I was working with it's a retail department of one of the 2 biggest bank in Vietnam, that I've been working with them for 3 months, and the results just incredible. There's just one example for you IT people, especially if you are in the IT, that we formed an agile team, and we developed one software in 3 days. It's complete in 3 days. 3 days. And normally, with all the procedure and bureaucrats that they have to do it in 6 months. So 3 days to finish one product just blow their minds. Everyone's just like shocked. They can't believe what they see. So, and it's only one result that we have incredible results in that bike about the, you know, not only the result, but people are just flourish because of they feel each other. They start thinking to people as a people, not the machine anymore. Yeah.
One of the things that Cherry uses quite a lot is what I call a CC ritual, a collaborative community ritual. And so that's things like a hack. This was a hack, right? Or hackathon where you do multiple, or open space. So we're big fans of open space technology, the methodology to get groups together, or World Cafe or Lean Coffee for smaller groups. So Cherry uses those a lot.
Yeah.
These days on Zoom plus Miro, and we're looking forward to being able to get back to Vietnam and run a few in a room again sometime. So you did an open space recently that was massive.
Okay, if you want to know about drive self-selecting.
Why do they come to you, or who comes to you?
So it's always the way that we didn't do anything to like marketing or promoting ourselves. Is I have what we call the agile manager clubs in Vietnamese, and I share the ideas every single day,
On
every
Facebook.
day on Facebook, and people who have a same idea or they feel like that's what they want to do and that they want to be, they come to me, and mostly through the networking, like student introduce student or customer introduce customer. So I don't have to choose them. They self-select. They come to me. I don't come to them. I never come to them because I don't want to persuade anyone. I can't. Actually, I can't. I can't persuade anyone who don't have the same mindset. So it's just a lot of people have the same mindset, but they don't know what to do or how to do it. But when they, like Hằng, for example, when they heard what I say, she said, that's what I want. And I want to be like that. I want to do like that. So that's easy. It's hard, but it is easy in a way that they believe in me and they have the same thinking. So
there's a few people who come more motivated by not many, but there's a few that do come like, oh, this looks like it'll make me a lot of money. And they're not necessarily coming in that same mindset. And some of them don't cope, but others, they start from that position, but they grow.
There's so far, I have one case and I still remember, I will remember him forever. So he's the owner, he's the owner of a home, how to call it? It's a retirement home in Vietnam. He have two retirement homes. It's about 500 staff. It is quite big in Vietnam, 500 for the retirement home. And he came to me and said, Cherry, I really like the idea. And I think he talked about, so people in the Agile Manager clubs, they put their story, they upload their story about how much they made or how they grow. And he's interested in profit, like Rob said. And then when he came to me, he joined the training, he joined one coaching, and he applied almost everything in terms of methodologies like Kanban, Lean Coffee, or Open Space, or all that sorts of things. They apply everything like that. But he never get the idea that you have to measure, that put KPI, and you have to punish people when they do things wrong, and blah, blah. So he saw the result.
You have to not punish people.
No, yeah. No, he believed that you have to punish people. So his KPI for his staff who look after the very old people, like, okay, every month he put the old elderly people on the how to call it? He weight them to see if they lose their weight or they maintain the same, or people get itchy skin, then there's a itchy, if people get itchy skin, then the staff who look after them will be punished. You know what I mean? So I said that if you do it that way, okay, if it's a kindergarten, maybe it makes sense because people grow. But for the elder people who came there to die,
You're
they
going to
lose
lose weight.
they lose weight. And people, they do, you know, and people are smart, right? They before the examination, they put a lot of, they force people to drink a lot of water and eat cucumber. Well, no, not cucumber. How to call it? Potato. So you know, and it's I think I feel it's so funny. It's so funny, but I just laugh.
He just didn't get it.
He didn't get it. Yeah.
And he didn't get the results, and he couldn't understand why he wasn't.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah. No, actually, it's not true. He did get the result when the work is transparent. He get better result, but you know, I don't know how long it lasts. That, or you know, I don't know. Didn't keep in touch. Yeah.
So can I just ask a question? Obviously you talked before about the big consulting companies who have been there and probably largely been unsuccessful. So what do you believe that you're doing differently to what they've done before?
Oh yeah, I think that the particular Big Four group, they bring the formulation to the companies. They said, hey, look, you do this and you will get this result, and they promise the outcome. And it's not come from people. People didn't understand why they have to do that, and of course it doesn't work because it's not come from them. And it's just funny enough that the whole organization is into chaos because they have to do a lot of things, and they do have to do a lot of what the consultant tell them to do, and without understanding anything. And so after, I think they last for about 6 months and brought a lot of money is gone. And then the CEO, she was my friend. And she said, Cherry, you know, I've been here for, she was the CEO for 16 years. And she said to me that I did my best, but I feel like my people are not happy. I know that there's something wrong, but I don't know what. Can you come to help me? So the first thing that you want to engage is to Jerry, come to help me to make people happy. That's the first thing. So I said, okay, if we talking about happiness, we're talking about, you know, make more, like flourish program and blah blah. But at the beginning, when we look at the system, we talk to people, we know that it's not about it. It's about the system and the way they manage. And we came and talk about, you know, how we make the systems better and how we treat people differently. And I think it's always come, like, as Rob said, that I never come up with my idea. I don't put any of my ideas. I just help them to come up with the idea. Like, for example, we put whole bunch of people together. The manager say, okay, so try just all about the, like the flow of work, that who got the pain point and which one is a block, which one, and just redo one by one, and then it's just simple thing, you know, but it works. And people, when we first came, people cried a lot. For even the very senior managers, they are not happy at all. After six months, my friends retired because they want to be the best, better legacy to the next generation. So she's retired, and because we promised that we have her before we retire, and also the new leadership coming. So we stop when my friends get retirement. And but before that, we met people from the workers in the factory and manager, and they said that they are much happier. Their life is much easier and happier. So that make me really happy, make us very happy. And that's I think it's about treat people like people. Even you build a system that people are not machine. If I just said to them that it's only thing that we need to care is how we make people feel that it is their home. Their home, their work is their home. They will contribute. But you have to create the environment that people feel that they belong to, and they are respected. Yeah.
And that was a really interesting organization because it's huge and it's ex-communist and now privatized. And so staff get like free nurse healthcare, they get cheap childcare, they get there's a academy within the organization where they can go and study things. The organization owns its own hotel so they can go and learn hospitality. They don't have to sit at a sewing machine for the rest of their lives. The boss that Cherry talked about, she was literally born into the organization. Both her parents worked there. She grew up through the childcare and the schools and the healthcare within the organization. So they had all these wonderful things for staff, but they had this massively command and control, militaristic, shouty culture with lots and lots and lots of bureaucracy. So even though some of the physical things were present that you would think would make people happy, she was struggling that people were still not happy. What is it? And Cherry took them on this journey of, well, maybe you could be nice to people and empower them and get all the system off their backs.
Awesome, thank you.
I was just gonna say, I really like that. I'll come over here. I really like that call out about bringing in people's family and the kind of lessons you learned, and that, you know, are they kindergartners? Do we want to treat them like this? And I think this idea sometimes as leaders, you know, we almost assume that parent-child relationship and then wonder why we get childlike responses, and that I tell you this, you do this. And so I like that idea that you had of, well, how do we empower people? And it's usually not by saying thou shalt do this, this, and this, and then, you know, how I say. So I thought, yeah, I really appreciated that call out.
Yeah. Thank you.
We use the phrase flip the hierarchy. So, you know, servant manager, that and actually draw it that way, that the hierarchy doesn't sit on top of the work as a burden carried along by the work. It sits under the work, going down to the CEO as a structure that holds up the work and is there to support and empower the work. And that mental image is quite powerful for people.
And there's one thing that, you know, you guys easy to understand, that is you don't need don't need anyone to explain to you that you are, as a manager, you don't create the value. But in Vietnam, I have to explain 1,000 times that you didn't make money at all. You didn't make money at all. Like my sister, she's a big boss of a big company. She's her own one of the biggest traditional furnitures in companies. And I said to her that you have to respect your staff, your workers, because they make the money. She said, no, it's me who make the money. Okay, I said, oh, where did you get money from? I sell furniture. I said, who make the furniture? He said, my workers. I said, if there's no furniture, how can you make money? You know, just simple like that. They don't understand. They think that they are superior because they give people job and people have to rely on them to live. I said, people can leave you and they still get money. But if they leave you, if you don't have people, you don't have money.
And I don't think those attitudes are peculiar to Vietnam, right?
I don't know.
See plenty of it.
I was going to ask.
That happens everywhere.
Kira and Rob, have you guys done any work in healthcare at all?
Only the retirement home, which doesn't really count. I don't think we've done any other healthcare in Vietnam, Jerry. Hospitals or medical.
But retirement homes do count.
Yes,
that is absolutely
do count. Yeah.
What was your experience there? Was it?
That was the guy. That was the guy who just wanted to make money and applied all the tools, but without any of the values. He was retirement homes.
I didn't do anything like consulting. I just coach him. Yeah, I just do some coaching with like group coaching, not even individual. So I don't really involve. Yeah. He
was in a coaching group, and he came to learn how to squeeze more money out of his retirement homes, and then, so okay.
Anyway, I have to think about it.
I don't think we have. It's been. So the ones I've seen, there's been a lot of manufacturing, particularly clothing, like 12,000 people, massive clothing, and then hundreds of people, smaller clothing manufacturers, especially lingerie, which is one of the perks of the job for me, and clothing retail. So a big client of Cherry's is someone who gets it all made somewhere else, but markets it online and ships and sells clothing. Real estate, obviously, several real estate organizations, banking, big logistics company running container ports and trucking and transport and logistics, teaching institutes, all the way from schools to adult education and business training and online. The product Cherry was talking about was an online training, e-learning product that they've stamped out in a couple of days. What else? They're some of the main industries I can think of.
Well, we're getting close to the end of time, so we've probably got time for maybe one more question if someone else has got any question or thoughts or insights you want to share.
Phil asked about how do you think work expectation in Vietnam have a lot easier? I don't know. What do you think, babe?
You think workers' expectations are a lot easier to meet? I think they have low expectations. It is still very much a Taylorist scientific management culture of you will do as you're told and you'll be measured by numbers and you'll be punished. And it's also a job for life, just knuckle down, do the thing. So they have quite low expectations in that sense. So yeah, just being a little bit nice can go a long way. But I then compared to my experience with organizations in New Zealand, and I have to say that it's actually not
that much different.
Having worked inside some big government departments and big banks in New Zealand, I wouldn't say they necessarily treat their people a hell of a lot better than the Vietnamese do. They pay them more, but that's only because we're a more prosperous country.
Yesterday, I trained for a manager in one financial company. It's quite big in Vietnam, and they said one of the managers said to me that when we talk about what people need, to be belonging, to be loved, to be respected, to be blah blah, and then he said that and people need to be punished. I said, oh well, you can. He said that I did and it worked. I did and it worked. I said, okay, good luck with that. How do you feel? You feel good? I said, no, no, I don't feel good when I punish people. I said, okay, so do you want to do it until the end of your life? Do you want to be beaten? Or do you want to be treated like the way you treat your staff? He said, I was treated badly, and I think that's the way I grow. I said, yep, that's why that's why you are who you are at the moment. And you are the same father. He said, I beat my kids, and it's normal. It's just a way to teach them, lesson. And I said, okay. And your kids, we beat your grandchildren. And it's followed. Just the journey is never, just never stop. And of course, I don't beat my children, and they have, I believe that they will be better parents. They will be good parents in the future, and I don't expect that my sons will beat my grandchildren. How do you think about it? Yeah. So it's just there's a lot. It's not like something strange. People feel like, I think I would say that 90% of Vietnamese still believe that people should be punished.
If you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see that I have exactly the same conversations around the world in English with managers who think that firing is a standard tool, and that you just use. And I try and tell people that firing is violence. And that if you fire someone at a lizard brain level, an instinctual level, it's no different to a herd of animals where they see one of the animals killed. Their attitude to you is going to be entirely different from their, and they just don't get that.
They don't get it. Yeah.
The punishment is a standard part of managing people. And I'm like, well, not in the 21st century. I don't think it is.
I think punishment is less overt, right? And it happens in lots of ways, and we often call it bullying here, but it's basically that kind of oppressive approach.
Totally.
And I just was exposed to a health sector organization recently where the manager, who's been there less than a year and is not very experienced, met with all the staff who have become toxic over that course of that year for some strange reason, and told them all off for being toxic over and over again.
Yeah.
So kind of the parent-child that Kristen was talking about was very much at work, and very much that's a form of punishment. It's just a little bit not so severe as beating your children, but it is still punishment, right?
Can I end with a slightly more positive anecdote, Andy, to take us out? But related to this is, I talked about that online marketing, selling clothing online company, warehouses, shipments of clothes come in, packed, sent off to customers, right? She is the loveliest lady, and she grew up believing that a business owner and a manager is shouty, right? She thought that's what a manager does, is to tell people off and yell at people and drive them and be hard. And it wasn't her. There was a cognitive dissonance between her own sweet nature and what she thought a manager has to be. And in LinkedIn, I say these days that being an asshole isn't part of the JD, right? But there's so many managers who think it is, that it's actually a standard part of being a manager. And she was one of those. And Cherry just opened her eyes to the fact that you can be nice and be a manager. And she was like, mind blown. You mean I can be nice and be a, yeah. And that's just totally transformed the organization. It's one of the case studies that we use in our book, right? And on our website.
She came to Cẩm Lai came to my training for six weeks. It's every week we catch up 3 hours, and over the 6 weeks she changed completely. Even as the entire organization, not just only her, but all sales manager. She's the one who's a very micro management. She does almost everything from the morning, wake up in the morning and finish her day job at 11 p.m. And she does every single thing. She just tell people what to do. And then I said, hey, let people do their job. You hire them to do the job. So why don't you just trust them? Give them a chance. And then she let go one by one, from marketing to sales to delivery to everything. And then now that's the very interesting case that I call her a rocket, because she make it change in 2 weeks. And in 2 months, she changed completely entire companies. And now because they're all self-organized, so now she's going to another business now. She's doing the invest in a school. So she's working at the school now to transform that school. And she's all, at the moment, she's moved to another business. It's about designing and something else. It's not even the school anymore. So she's fast as like rocket.
And she's another mother who wanted more time with her children. So another huge thing for her is actually to have family time that she didn't have because she was micromanaging and running them. I remember her being amazed that photographers take really good photographs if you just leave them alone. Instead of telling them how to take the photograph, if you just leave them, they come up with really good photos. I remember that. I was like,
Cool. Anyway, I think we better wrap up there. We're on the 1:30. But thanks, Cherry and Rob. Really appreciate
Thank you so much.
Your insights. I can see, I think what you to me bring to it is you start from a place of heart. You start from a place of care. You bring that, clients see that, but you've also got a huge amount of technical analysis and knowledge between you that you can bring, to sort the system issues, which are often at the heart of the things that get in the way of people being happy at work. So that's the formula that I can see, but starting from here. So thanks. I think that's really clear. And as I said, it's what I hope from today as well, that people see that, what you can bring to not only to Vietnam, but to here in New Zealand and other places, but also to read your books, because they're great books and they're really helpful tools. So thank you very much for today's session. Really appreciate it. Before we close off, just a couple of advertisements. We've got some good events coming up in the next few months. We're already scheduled, so you get invites out shortly on those. So Rob mentioned before about promoting some more of the Business Agility Institute. So one of the things they're doing is publishing books for free, if you remember. And one of the authors, a really interesting ex-Special Forces guy called Nick Horne, is going to be joining us next time. And he's written a book specifically relevant for today, which is VUCA Masters Developing Leadership Agility for the New World of Work, which I think we can all agree we're definitely, if we didn't think we were in VUCA before, just look at the world right now. So he not only is he a Special Forces and had to apply it in a combat situation, but he's also got a PhD in organizational psychology. So really interesting, applied in the work context as well. And then following on from that, we've got Evan LeBourne, who's the founder of the Business Agility Institute, coming and talking about some of the information that they're gathering from the surveys they're doing now on organizations, looking at what are the attributes of agility. And so he's going to start pulling out some of those interesting nuggets around what are they finding that are the things that differentiate organizations. So yeah, some interesting sessions coming up. We've got quite a lot on our backlog of other ideas, but if you've got other thoughts or ideas that you would like us to do, please let us know. Just drop us a line. Anyway, thanks everyone for your time. John Allen, who was on here before, thank him for joining our committee. We've got a really great committee of dedicated people and appreciate that. But anyway, thanks for your time, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of the day and weekend. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.